Leslie here, and today on Gamefoodie we're going to be making some delicious homemade fresh bagels. I think we might even give the New York style bagel a run for its money. Let's begin. Alright, go ahead and grab your bowl. Then we're going to add 2 cups of warm water. You can warm this up in the microwave, but water coming from your tap is plenty warm enough. We do not want the water any hotter than 110 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 43.33 degrees Celsius. Next, I'm going to add 1 packet of Active Dry Yeast. That's about 2 1/4 teaspoon or 1/4 of an ounce. I'm going to give the mixture a stir so that all the yeast is dissolved into the water. That looks pretty good right there. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and I'm also going to pour in about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm just eyeballing it here. This isn't for sweetness. It's more so just to give the yeast a little bit more to eat and also give the bagels more depth of flavor. Now go ahead and stir in the sugar and the syrup, and we're going to let the mixture stand until it looks foamy. Now if you don't see any foaminess after about 5 minutes, your yeast is dead and you have to start all over. But it does look like my yeast is alive and we can move on. I'm going to grab my flour. This is about 6 cups of bread flour that I measured out. And I'm going to add it to the yeast mixture. For bagels, bread flour is best because it has a high amount of protein which aids in the texture of the bagel. Remember, we want all the chew here. A bagel with no chew is no bagel at all, I say. Anyways, the last thing I'm going to add is 2 teaspoons of salt. Now I'm going to grab a fork. Then I'm going to mix the flour and the salt into the yeast mixture. I'm not using the mixer today because I want to show you that recipes like this can be done by hand. So I'm going to mix until all the liquid is absorbed and I get a very shaggy dough. And don't worry if you have pockets of flour, that's pretty normal. Bagel dough is notoriously dry, so the excess flour is going to get mixed in during the kneading process. Also, if it's super dry, you can add a little bit of water, just a few tablespoons at a time, because we're just looking for the dough to come together. Now I'm going to pour the dough out onto the bench, and I'm going to go ahead and start the kneading process. Notice I'm kneading the dough in a push and fold method. That pulls and lengthens the gluten as it forms. This dough can be a trial to work with, but it is doable. As you knead, the dough may even start getting sticky like this dough is. We really want to develop the gluten structure here, so just keep kneading until the dough is elastic and no longer sticky. This should take about 15 minutes of kneading, and that's even shorter if you're using a stand mixer. But again, we're focusing on showing us how to do things by hand, not just by machine. Doing things this way, you definitely don't have to worry about your missing arm day. This will definitely give you the workout. Now once the dough is elastic and passes the window pane test, you know it's done. If you don't know, the window pane test is basically when you take a little dough and you stretch it out, and if you can see the light through it, you know that the dough is done. Anyways, now that our dough is ready, I'm going to oil up a bowl, and then I'm going to toss in the dough. I'm just going to roll the dough around in the bowl to get it coated with the oil so that it won't dry out. Now I'm just going to cover it and put it in a warm place, and I'm going to let it rise until it's doubled, which should be about an hour or so. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and grab the dough, and I'm going to go ahead and uncover it. The dough has risen, and I'm going to punch it down. Now I'm going to grab 2 cookie sheets that have been lined with parchment paper. Then I'm going to just butter the parchment paper just as an extra precaution because we do not want any sticking. Now that our cookie sheets are prepared, I'm going to go ahead and grab the dough and I'm going to tip it out into the workspace. I'm just going to spread the dough out. I don't want it super thin, just about 3/4 of an inch thick. Now I'm going to grab my bench scraper. I'm then going to start by cutting the dough in half. Then I cut both halves into halves to make fourths. Then I cut those fourths into eighths. Now we should have 8 roughly equal sized pieces of dough. I'm just going to move the pieces apart to make it easier to work with. Now I'm going to roll the pieces of dough into balls. To form the balls, I like to take a piece of dough and then fold the edges into the center onto itself. Then I'm going to pinch the seam closed. I then roll the dough in my palm on the table, creating a dough ball. Now that all the balls are formed, we can actually shape them into bagels. The first thing I like to do is slightly flatten one of the balls. Then I take the dough and I pull open a little hole in the center. See, just like that. Then I take 2 fingers and roll the dough to open up the center. We do not want the hole small here, as the dough will expand and that's going to close up the hole a little bit. So don't be afraid if the hole looks too big right now. Now that all our bagels are formed, we're going to take some tea towels and we're going to cover them. I'm gonna let them rise again until they're almost doubled. While the bagels are rising again, turn your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 218 degrees Celsius. Time to make our boiling solution. I have a medium pot that I filled with 3 quarts of water. And to the water, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. The baking soda makes the solution alkaline, which is important to get an even golden color and texture. I'm gonna go ahead and cover the pot until it boils. Now that the solution is boiling, I'm gonna go ahead and reduce the heat to a simmer. Our bagels are now plump and they're ready to be boiled. Now I'm gonna take one of the bagels and I'm gonna add it to my strainer and then lower it into the solution. I like to work with 2 bagels at a time because they do plump up. Now I'm only gonna boil the bagels about 30 seconds on each side for a maximum of 1 minute total. This will give the level of chewiness that I enjoy. You can go longer if you like. It is kind of a preference. All right, now all our bagels are boiled, and the next thing we need to do is brush them with the egg wash. This is going to allow the toppings to stick. Bagels are kind of choose your own adventure type of thing when you think about it. So you can top them with whatever you like. I'm going for more of a savory bagel today, so I'm going to top them with some everything bagel seasoning and some cheddar cheese. All right, now we can go ahead and bake the bagels at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes on one side and then 5 minutes on the other. Now just look how even and nice that turned out. I organized them in this nice basket, and I'm just gonna cut one so you can see the crumb. Now that's a bagel right there. Let's top it with some scallion cream cheese. Now look how tasty that looks. Oh man, these are so good. They're everything I want in a bagel and are simply delicious. All right guys, that's it. If you liked and enjoyed this recipe and you love to see more, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.